Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. I am so incredibly excited about this one because we're exploring a beautiful, profound piece of 16th century wisdom that honestly feels like it was written exactly for our burnt-out, overworked, constantly connected modern lives. We're going to dive into a sacred Hukamnama, which translates to a divine command, from Sri Gurmukh Sahib Ji. It offers this totally refreshing spiritual lens on how we live, work, and actually find peace today.
So why does having more information often leave us feeling, well, kind of empty? It's the ultimate modern paradox, isn't it? We hustle, we study, we consume endless streams of news and data, yet so many of us still feel completely exhausted. We've got access to all the knowledge in the world right in our pockets, but we're starving for actual peace. And that brings us perfectly to the profound wisdom of today's source text, which tackles this exact feeling of outward exhaustion.
In this explainer, we're going to walk through 4 key lessons to shift from that outward exhaustion to some real inward peace. We'll look at the endless hustle trap, why escapism won't fix it, wearing robes of forgiveness, and finally, winning the game of life.
All right, let's jump right into part 1. The endless hustle trap, specifically looking at reading, studying, and our ego.
The text hits us with this hard truth. Reading and studying are just worldly pursuits if there's thirst and corruption within. I mean, think about our modern obsession with degrees, certifications, and endless data consumption. It's essentially useless if we're just doing it for ego-driven validation. If you're chasing that promotion just to prove you're better than someone else, that thirst is going to keep you feeling empty no matter how smart you are on paper.
There's a really stark contrast drawn here. Reading purely out of egotism, it literally just leaves you weary and ruined. You know that deep, soul-crushing weariness after a long day of just trying to prove yourself at the office? Yeah, that's exactly it. But then there's the alternative, contemplating the Word and searching with Him. This shows us that instead of burning out on outward pursuits, true wisdom, the actual door of salvation, comes from finding your authentic essence. To help us embody this, the text introduces this beautiful concept called the Gurmukh. Basically, a Gurmukh is a spiritually centered person who takes the divine name as their only support. They are guided by spiritual wisdom, not their own ego. Instead of relying on a fancy job title or the validation of their peers, they are anchored from the inside out, totally immune to the roller coaster of the worldly ego. Moving right along to Section 2, escapism won't fix it. It's all about conquering the mind. Okay, so when we get completely burnt out from the daily grind, what's our very first instinct? Usually, we just want to run. We think, if I just get a new job, or if I move to a new city, or if I take a 2-week vacation, then I'll finally be relaxed. But the text has a very direct warning for us. Running away absolutely does not solve a restless mind if you haven't conquered your ego.
Back in the 16th century, the ultimate escape was a physical pilgrimage. But the text notes that these wandering holy men got tired of making pilgrimages to sacred shrines because they hadn't actually conquered their minds. It's the exact same today. You can move across the world, but if your mind is still clouded by anxiety and ego, you're literally just taking your exhaustion with you to a nicer beach.
So it's a choice between physical escapism, which just leaves you tired, versus true inner focus. The Gurmukh looks inward, using spiritual wisdom to burn away the ego. To clean up what the text calls the filth of the mind, you don't need to change your zip code. You just need to sit still and conquer the mind exactly where you are. Which brings us to Section 3, wearing robes of forgiveness. It's time to completely redefine true adornment.
So how do we actually show up in the world once we stop running away? Well, first off, you don't do it alone. The text asks us to seek out what it beautifully calls our siblings of destiny. Think of this as your ultimate spiritually grounded network. Instead of connecting over who can get you a promotion, this is a warm, supportive community that helps implant spiritual wisdom within you. They're the ones who keep you grounded when the corporate ladder gets a bit too slippery.
And with that community having your back, the text then completely flips our modern idea of dressing for success. You know, we usually think of sharp suits, designer watches, or having the perfect professional aesthetic.
But the alternative presented here is just stunning. It pleads, "Adorn me with the decorations of the Lord. Let me wear the robes of the Lord's forgiveness." Wow, just imagine that for a second. What if, before a massively stressful meeting, instead of putting on your heavy armor of ego and defensiveness, you actively chose to wear the robes of forgiveness? It's a gorgeous decoration that brings immense inner peace, and, according to the text, is what truly pleases God. Finally, let's hit Section 4, winning the game of life by eradicating sins and finding peace.
So how do we actually pull this all together? The path laid out is surprisingly actionable. Step 1, pause that endless ego-driven consumption of info. Step 2, look inward to conquer the mind and quiet that ego. And Step 3, choose forgiveness daily as your default reaction to the world. If you can follow these steps, you're operating as a true Gurmukh. Ultimately, what this is teaching us is that winning isn't about beating the competition. It's absolutely not about out-hustling others or being the smartest person in the room. True success is inner grace. It's about finding mercy, staying spiritually focused, and having this quiet confidence that doesn't need to shout to be heard.
And the results of this focus? They're profound. By keeping this constant, mindful connection, described here as chanting the name day and night, the text promises that our inner burdens are eradicated in an instant. The Lord becomes merciful to us. Basically, when we finally refuse to play the world's exhausting game of ego, we actually win the true game of life.
As we wrap up this explainer, I'm going to leave you with one vital question to reflect on. As you log into your emails, step into your meetings, or just hang out with your family today, what robes are you wearing? Are you throwing on that heavy, exhausting ego, or are you choosing the light, peaceful robes of forgiveness? The choice is entirely yours, and it changes absolutely everything. Thanks so much for joining me to unpack this incredible wisdom, and I'll catch you on the next one.